interested to learn what is the topic for today.
Okay, I hope you can see my screen now, right?
Yes, I am able to see the
Good.
screen. It
So,
is
so it's about, I guess, frequent releases, and
frequent releases.
so
Yes.
we always have, and it is sometimes also a very, it's a topic which sometimes as a Scrum Master also we would like to run away, because when we start talking about this, lots of things start coming in. So, but I think this topic got re-highlighted in my mind because, one of the Scrum Master did come to me and then, ask this question saying that, basically the question came is saying that, hey, are we really doing something, or we are just, running some sprints? And then, why is that my team is not releasing frequently? And, how could I go and help them? How to understand release, the frequent releases as a concept into that. So what do you think? What is this about?
Very good, right? Maybe I'll spoil the water with more mud
Okay.
rather, right? Right. So yeah, we are talking about frequent releases. See, there is another word also, right? Frequent deployments,
Yeah.
right? So how is it different? Maybe I will touch upon each of this, and I want to hear your perspective as well, right?
Yeah.
So I see deployments, frequent deployments as this. My code is ready. I push it to production, or just deploy into production.
Hmm.
It is just deployment. But when my code is ready and available for the end user to perceive the value, or you know take the value out of the new feature or enhancement, whatever we develop, is actually released to the customer. So, long story short, if I need feedback, you have to release.
Hmm.
You have to get technical feedback in terms of number of test cases passed, or if you have automation really in place, is it getting deployed correctly or not? Then frequent deployments help. So that is what is my perspective to this. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's also pretty much eye opener. Like, what are we trying? We are trying to just move one piece of something from one place to another and
Hmm.
then just see how it behaves in that environment.
Yeah,
Or we are trying to send something to a customer and taking a actual feedback from him saying that, so do you think it's good for the amount of money you have paid? And
exactly.
realize it. And it's also something, it's a real feedback about what next we should be doing. It's not about probably enhancing the code, but it's about enhancing the product. So
Absolutely, absolutely. Maybe deploy is. Do you say, okay, instead of giving my opinion, do you say deploy is like enhancing the code and release is like enhancing the product?
but probably very coarsely, I will
Very
not
coarsely.
probably
Okay.
see that, but
Mm-hmm.
it's about letting the customer know that, hey, there is something being built for you and we would like to listen from you. So it's the emotion which comes back from a product, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think sometime back you have talked about the Amazon example, right? So if a
Yeah.
retail company is doing, I think it's a very nice example. Can you help us with
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
as well?
I'll tell this, right. So yeah. So now Amazon is very frequent. I'm not really endorsing Amazon here, but Amazon, at least in India, we have festive season once in 2 months or once in 3 months. There is festive sale going on, Grand Amazon festive sale. But in that, the features for the festive sale is different, or the offers that come on that particular sale is different. However, those are all really been developed and deployed by the engineering team onto the servers, but it is not available before the day it is actually has to be available on the website. All right. So ultimately, what I see there is engineering teams in their lower level environment testing it and deploying it to production, but actual release happens on the
On
day,
the day, yes.
or on that day the offer is open. Okay, ultimately the end customer, maybe for an engineering team, their immediate customer could be the testing team, or a UAT team, whereas the actual end customer who uses that would be you and me, who are actually purchasing something on that particular day. So that is what is released. And then if I have any feedback, that I directly give it. So if there is something which is really going bad, the sales is going to go down, right? You are not generating you're not realizing the perceived value.
True, true. I think probably we can say something like this, right? I'm thinking like, basically it's deploying a code versus releasing a value,
Very
right?
nice. Yes, yes.
So, we aim towards releasing a value because that's where the most, that's where the money is. That's where the real feedback would come through.
Exactly.
So,
I would rather see, keeping the financials apart. Yes, we are all
yes.
working towards the financials. However, uh, we are all related, or the trust is created by looking at something working, right? I cannot say to people, or I cannot come and say to you, I made 100 deployments, right? That doesn't, as a customer, doesn't make sense to you. However, I release something and say, hey, this is my half-cooked product. If you can just take a look at it and give some feedback on that, that'll be super helpful. That is what
Yes.
multiple versions, beta versions especially, are there for that, right? So
Yeah.
release for certain set of users.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
to
wish
give that
that,
feedback. Yeah,
we have to start maturing. Probably we are not deploying frequently, but eventually the end goal is to release frequently. Now, when we understand what
exactly.
release means, now let's look at probably what stops us from being there, and what are the impediments towards it. So
Oh, I would love to. I'd love to discuss that. I want to hear your
yeah,
perspective as well
I
on that.
think
Yeah.
one of the first impediment I feel is uh, it relates to the mindset part of it, and it's more about the lack of awareness. There is a need for this, and it's not a fancy thing, but there is really need for this. So what do you think about it? How is the awareness spread across, and what typical challenges we see in this area?
Um, I would rather go back a few years, like maybe few years, maybe a decade, right? When I started being a developer way back in 2010, right? The story goes like this. So we had multiple SMEs back then.
Hmm.
Okay, only few SMEs were available to see, hey, what exactly is the available product, rather
Hmm.
than the other SMEs are really, in a way, hey, I've given the code,
Hmm.
I will see that when it really comes out.
Yeah.
Don't worry, don't disturb me in between. I have
Hmm.
other, PRDs, or business documents that needs to be prepared. I'm focusing on that. I
Yeah.
don't have time for giving you feedback on this. But fortunately, my SME was a little different. I used to wake him up anytime, during his sleeping hours. So he used to say, I'll give feedback, right? So that is something, the lack of awareness within the SMEs or the product people, that also matters. So
Yes.
if no one is asking, or there is no sense of urgency, why would engineering team really look forward to give it, right? They always think, hey, it is a duplicate work. So this is a strong statement I recently heard from one of my engineering teams, right? Where they used to say, hey, Parshu, you are asking me to at least deploy or release frequently to the next environment so that my QA can test. But QA will be doing duplicate effort. They'll be testing this part of the code now. Again, they'll test the other part of the code again later.
Hmm.
So maybe that needs to change. No, right? Hey, no, that is fine. How many ever times we test it, the quality is going to improve.
Yeah.
It is not going to decrease, right?
True. I think it's somewhere it also relates to the way if we start taking iterative and incremental processes, what it means is we are not going to spend a lot of time in the initiation phase and all those things, and
Hmm.
whatever the risks are going to get propagated will be propagated throughout the timeline of the product development, and
Yeah.
that's when that has to be taken equally by each part of the team. So be it a customer, be it a stakeholder, be it a product owner, or be it a squad member, they
Hmm.
equally have to take part into taking that risk up, right? And then
Yeah.
understand that. So that urgency, and then that the need to see something happening has to be at all the level, and not just sometimes only at the end level or sometimes only at the squad level. So it's the whole spectrum. They should see that as a progress of their product building up and not anything else. So
Yeah, that is right. And this brought my attention, right? We still see progress by PPT or report.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not going till the release stage, but far ahead in our sprint reviews. When we started, like, coming into Scrum and being a
Hmm.
Scrum Master, where multiple teams were like, when they were adapting sprint, hey, sprint review is like, I have to prepare a deck. I spend a lot of time preparing a deck to showcase, hey, what we have done in this sprint. But no, that is not the case. There you have to get the feedback by showing the working product. That is what they say. So
Yeah.
to show the working product, it has to be deployed, and you have to realize the value,
True.
right? At least see what it can do, or what is the value it can create.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah.
True. And I think there is also sometimes, the people aspect playing into it. So sometimes, it's the business users, stakeholders who are not very comfortable with seeing some half-baked, and half-baked product, and they get scared about it. So they have to be a little bit more courageous and see, while it's building. So it may look ugly, but that's the in-process product for you. And then also there is the other part of it where the one who's presenting always thinks that, hey, I need to present the best out of me, and then my code or my product is not there, so let me just use a PPT to do that, or please give me more time, I'll come back after 2 months, let me polish the product, or let me do some great amount of testing and stretching of the product before I come to you. So it just delays the process of taking a value towards the end goal, right?
That's true. Exactly right. So I now that I'll not give an example of a product development process, but let's take a life example itself, right? So to start something, yeah, there is a principle that says, before you start, complete what you have already started. And at the same time, to start something, few of us wait for a certain stage. Hey,
Yeah.
this has to be polished in so and so place. That is when
True.
I'll be able to start. Hey, no, that may not be right, because at this particular point your thought process is this, so you have to go ahead and capitalize it. There is enough chance that this thought process gets you know
Yep.
buried in with other thoughts. You will not realize
Yes.
value from this,
True.
right? So again, relating to this example, you have to constantly release or constantly showcase this product to someone, so that you get that feedback. There could be a chance, because you have shown this one, you know all the other things which is already there in the backlog can
Yeah.
get vanished.
True.
Your SME could say, hey, this is already here, why do we need
Hmm.
this backlog item, or why are you going
Yeah.
to spend more time developing this,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
So I guess as a agile coach or a scrum master, I guess we need to work towards educating, spreading the awareness about the benefits of doing this, working at squad levels, customer level, business user level, stakeholders levels, and bringing them to a place where we can get that need of doing that release, and then see the benefits through it, right?
uh, I just not teaching.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, coaching is also would be
Mm-hmm.
really necessary, because
True.
teaching will give knowledge. However,
Yeah. Yeah.
that would not directly apply to the context
Very
where
true.
people are. Maybe coaching would help
Yes.
the people in terms of relating to the context what they're
Yeah.
really looking at,
True.
right? So that is how I see this. So
Yeah.
this awareness, as a community, we all should talk to our product owners, our SMEs, our engineering teams. Hey, see fit in
Mm-hmm.
and create that awareness. Hey, how and why frequent releases could help.
True.
Maybe we are
Fine.
spending a lot of time on lack of awareness, but when we go to the challenges, it is another dimension, right? Maybe you can start with the first challenge. What is one challenge that you want to bring it on table, right?
Yeah. Very true. So, but when we are talking about the challenge, let's move to the second challenge, which I feel is very much practical and on the ground. And those are probably the real, execution challenges. While now, let's say we want to do it, we see there is a value, but when we try and when we want to do it on the ground, I see based on the experiences we had, I see there are some real ground level problems which exist and which stops us or at least slows down from being there, right? So
Yeah.
I get the first one itself is a backlog, right? What do you see about it?
Uh, my favorite, right? See, in fact, we were talking about this, but this itself is a rabbit hole or a big topic to talk
Very true.
about. See, what does our backlog consist of? Maybe to start with, I'm okay to have tasks, but eventually our backlog should be, something generating value and then some spikes. Okay. So backlog itself is not tasks, right? You have backlog as user stories or technical spikes, but inside your user stories create those tasks.
Yeah.
But most of our, we are not talking about the perfect world, right? Or the ideal world. Most
Mm-hmm.
of our teams, or my teams especially, have those user stories as tasks, right?
Yes.
Technical tasks. They create an API. So to do what? I can't do anything with that API, right? I mean, yes, eventually when it integrates, we could do something, but I just need to develop an API. So what is the input? What is the output?
Mm-hmm.
You know, eventually there is the end user doesn't understand what is this team or this person is really creating, right?
True.
So backlog plays a very important role. Maybe one suggestion for that is, hey, start looking at creating those user stories by generating value. One technical term, if I have to use, you know, vertically slice the user stories. If you see a rainbow cake, right? That is the
Yes.
best
Yes.
example I always use. So when you cut it horizontally only, you will be able to taste all the flavors of the rainbow cake. If you start
Mhm.
cutting, vertically itself, you will be
Yeah.
able to taste all that. If you start cutting horizontally, there is no fun of eating rainbow cake. There will be
Yeah.
like one cake is orange flavor, one cake is peach or something else, right?
Yes. Yes.
So if you have to get the complete value, it is like
True. True.
vertically slice it.
Backlog
Yeah,
really plays a very important role in that, right? Because
yeah,
if your backlog is not in place, you would never be in a place to release something, because there will be always something which is remaining, which would actually get a good feedback about. So
absolutely.
that is definitely, and that's something which should be one of the first things we could look at and start reorganizing around. But I
Yep.
also see then the next part is, once if it is in place, there are some existing practices in the system, right? How the flow goes through, and then what is stopping us from even releasing it. So we have to wait for somebody to approve, or we have to go through a certain process, only then we can release it. So even those are some of the factors I do see, which stops us from going to that place and saying that, hey, I think we should release it, but like, oh, let me see, it's very painful activity, so let's wait on it. What do you think about it? Have you seen
I
anything around it?
uh, I agree, and when you said that, there are two examples that really stay on my mind, right? That pops up on my mind. Number one is uh, one team's development practice has a code review as bottleneck. See, if the
Mm-hmm.
code review bottleneck doesn't exist, they'll definitely release or into the production and generate value to the customers, or at least internal customers, very soon. Okay. However, as you said, in terms of execution practice, code review is a big bottleneck for them. Okay. When we talk about release level thing itself is a bottleneck. So in one of my experiences, there was a global, this was really a global project, right? Where the change management team was sitting between Australia and America. It's a whole globe where first thing is we have to identify a collaborative time so that we all come into a call and start the deployment process alone.
Yeah.
So that itself is like, my code is ready to deploy and make it release to the customer. I have to wait for that one good day, like Subha
Muhurat.
Muhurtam. Exactly, right? So to wait for people to come in and
True.
available,
Makes sense.
right?
Yes.
When they are available, then there is a big, you take a manual backup of things and then put into this
Yeah.
and manually deploy things and then take it up. Yes. So all these challenges, sometimes make people say, hey, it is just one code. No, let us not deploy it. Let us wait for like 3-4 features to come up, and then we'll deploy at the end of 4 months or 3 months.
Yeah.
Then there is no feedback, man. The customer is like really yelling at us. Hey, what is happening?
Mhm.
Right? Maybe the solution is different there. Maybe some kind of automation is required where DevOps
Mhm.
comes into picture, but that is a challenge. That is why people do not want to release.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think as a whole team and all of us who are in that particular thing to deploy, to release something, to create and generate value, I think we will have to also look at the bigger ecosystem. What are our processes? What are our bottlenecks? Are we structured right? Once I write the code, what is taking most time to get it to production? And
Yes.
then try to identify them and then see which is the biggest one. Obviously you cannot remove all of them, but then see which is the bigger bottleneck and then how you can start working towards it, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So, in fact, that brings to the end of the discussion. Maybe Harsh, do you want to quickly summarize, like, yes, we spoke about awareness, we covered a couple of points about how do we take it
Yes.
out, and we talk about challenges. Do you want to quickly summarize, like, hey, I'm a budding or a new Scrum Master. So, what is the first step should I take to, streamline this process or understand this and do frequent releases?
Yeah, I think the first step itself comes as internal awareness, right? So as a agile coach or as a
Hmm.
scrum master, you should be a very strong believer into that. This actually would help to bring the value. So we work towards value and not towards, moving a code from one place to another. So first is bring that awareness, and then create that enthusiasm across all your stakeholders, and have them coach them into understanding why this is important. And then the next part, that's the challenge part which comes into, and then help your squads. I'm not sure how much technically you would be able to help it, but even as a strong scrum master, I used to strongly believe in my architects and developers that given a challenge they can always find a way to move through this typical challenges we have seen. Product owners definitely will have a challenge with the backlog, how to write in a way, but obviously you will have architects and technical SMEs, even DevOps engineers, to help you overcome your existing challenges of how to integrate fast, how to do automation tests. So DevOps I feel would emerge out of it. Don't start with probably DevOps first. That's my recommendation at the end of the day. But that's a scrum master should do and believe, and then go ahead and try it out.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Maybe, on top of it, a concluding statement, if I have to give,
Yes.
uh, it's not that, frequent releases mean every
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks that you
Mm-hmm.
put the code into, production and make it available for the customer.
Yes.
It is more contextual. Hey, what does your customer needs?
Yeah.
Right? If you are doing 6 months release, how you can make it like maybe
Small.
available once in 3 months
Yes.
to start with,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then from 3 months to 1 month
Earlier,
releases,
step by step. True.
like step by step. It is,
Yeah.
if we start pushing like, hey, you are doing 6 months from next sprint, if you have to do it like every 2 weeks, no,
No, no, there will be
no,
pushback.
there it'll be pushed back in terms of change management. But I'll not recommend as well.
They'll
However,
release the scrum master. So they'll
exactly.
let him go.
So that way, you have to be taking a very step
Right.
by step approach. Again, an incremental approach, right? In fact, more than step by step, it is incremental approach. It
Yeah.
depends on the context, guys. It is context. That's what
Yes.
I want to be very precise.
Good.
Right, Harsh. Wonderful discussion, Harsh. Wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. And then let's conclude this topic, and let's hope for a next great topic in the
Yeah.
upcoming
This
week.
this was
Great.
this was a great discussion, and we'll speak again with the people who are watching, and like, subscribe, and comment for more topics like this.
Good. Have a good
Bye.
day. Bye
You
bye.
too. Bye.